Good morning. Welcome to Office Hours with Rich Fine. This week, we have a wonderful opportunity to talk with someone who is using theater to make social change internationally. His name is Michael Herman, and he is one of the founders of the Outer Loop Theater Experience, which is New York based. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Humanity Project and the Empathy Project and some of their activities creating theater pieces that heal. The Humanity Project is something that started, I think, back in 2016. He'll tell us a little bit more about it. But one of their great accomplishments is they were able to build, using a theater experience as a fundraiser, a birthing clinic in a remote village in Tanzania. So I am super excited. I hope you're excited too, to talk with Michael and see how he is using theater to create immense social change. Thanks.
The Outer Loop Theater Experience is our organization, which was founded about 10 years ago. And then the Humanity Project, which is an arts-based initiative of the Outer Loop, we started about 4 years ago now in 2016.
Michael visited a remote village called Maloka, which is about 7 hours away from the largest city in Tanzania. He met a woman who had lost a child during childbirth because the village didn't have access to any sort of hospital or medical care or a labor clinic for women to give birth. The closest one was in the city, a 7-hour drive away. And so through hearing Asha's story and then subsequently developing a piece of theater about that story, Michael brought that piece of theater back to the US, and we used it as a fundraiser to raise the funds necessary to build a maternity clinic in the village of Maloka. That was the first instance of, wow, we can take a piece of theater, tell a story, and then actually go back and put a building there. You know, now there's a hospital in this village where there wasn't a hospital before. Now, after the hospital, we then collaborated on a couple other projects, and we built 3 wells, a maternity clinic. We've helped on the larger health center, and our next project is to build an arts and cultural center in the village where we work.
Right before we started working on this project, I was having trouble reminding myself of our shared humanity. And I think a lot of people around us seem to feel the same way. So it was really interesting, the timing. You know, I go on that first trip to Tanzania and, you know, I unplug and disconnect from our lives here in this country and the noise and the, you know, everything that's going on, and actually physically unplug, you know, no phone, no computer, no TV, no technology, and really just spend some time, about 6 weeks that first trip, reconnecting with humanity, you know, and reconnecting with people and the earth, and not being, you know, not staring at my phone everywhere I go, you know, and not being kind of connected that way, but being connected here. That over the 4 years that we've been working on the project has really kept me going and really kept the project going.
He said, you know, I talked to the village government officials, here's how much it would cost, and I was just blown away by how relatively low that number was compared to, you know, what development projects would be here, what it would take to build a hospital here versus what this number was. And I thought, people spend 2x, 3 times that on weddings, you know, and it's just one day. And in the moment, I just sort of said, you know, wouldn't it be like a crazy idea if instead of having like a big wedding, we instead asked all of our friends and family to donate to fundraise to be able to build the clinic. So Michael was sort of like, wait, did you just ask me to marry you? And I was like, oh yeah.
Whether we're in Tanzania doing this work or we're here and we tell people about the project who don't already know about it and who may not know exactly what we do, the first questions are, well, are you doctors? Are you builders? Or do you work in construction? Do you work in the medical field? And, you know, we say, of course, no, we're not doctors or in construction or builders, but we're theater artists and we're storytellers.
Hi, I'm Rich, and this is Office Hours, and I'm here with Michael Herman of the Outer Loop Theater Experience. And I'm really interested to talk to him today about the Empathy Project and the Humanity Project and his newest project called 13 Suits. They're a company based in Chicago and Rochester and Albany, and I'll give it away to Michael. Tell me how you founded the company.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, so I'm the founder and one of the co-artistic directors of the Outer Loop. Started the company in 2009, actually, in Rochester, New York. After getting out of grad school and feeling like, as a playwright, feeling like there weren't a lot of organizations that were providing an opportunity that artists could use as a bridge or a ramp to the professional world, right? So everyone wants you to have that experience to get the first job, but no one wants to be the organization that gives you the experience you need to get that first job, right? So we felt
Absolutely.
like, right. So we felt like, while we were very interested in producing theater and art that lives under that theater for social change umbrella, we wanted to work with a lot of young and emerging artists, either in school or just getting out of school, to give them that chance to gather the tools for their toolbox to then go out and be able to feel confident in getting whatever job they wanted to. And we for about our first 6 or 7 years, that's pretty much what we did. We developed new work in upstate New York, in Chicago, in New York City, with young artists, playwrights, directors, actors, designers, everyone, tech folks. And then in 2016, our work took on another area of theater and art and theater for social change, which is our Humanity Project work that primarily takes place in Tanzania, but then has a U.S. component to it as well.
And what's the
And
name
yeah,
of the village in Tanzania? Is it just one village in Tanzania that you go to?
it's a good question. We initially were going to one village in Tanzania, and it's called Mloka, which means across the river in Swahili. But what we wound up doing, because of the success of the work over the years, we've now expanded into the entire ward, which is comprised of 5 villages. So we're now working in 5 villages in this region in Tanzania, and all of our projects involve the communities and the village members in those 5 villages, which is about 6,000 people, which is really, really cool.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I'll just give what I know about the Humanity Project. You met a woman when you were there who lost her child because there was a lack of a birthing center in that community. They had laid some foundations for that birthing center, but they didn't have the funds to actually build it, right? So you created a theater piece, right? Brought it back to the US, used it as a fundraiser, and then with funds from your wedding, built the birthing center. You raised funds through your wedding too to build the birthing center? Is that right?
Yeah, you've really done your research. So yeah, actually, Rachel, my now wife and co-artistic director of the Outer Loop, when I came back from my Tanzania trip, and told her how I felt so compelled to tell Asha's story, the woman you mentioned, tell Asha's story to a U.S. audience and use that production to raise the money to go back and build the maternity clinic. Rachel, sitting in a diner on like 157th Street and Broadway in New York, leaned over and said, we should get married and use the funds from our wedding to build the clinic. And I said, wait, did you just ask me to marry you? Is that like exactly what just happened? And she was like, yeah, I think so. Should we do that? Yeah, cool. So yeah, in 30 days, we planned a very basic wedding, told folks not to come, but instead we created like how people create a registry, except we did it with like, you can build the roof on the clinic, you can pay for a door, you can pay for a window, you can pay for the medicine, for the doctor's house and stuff like that. And yeah, in 30 days, we raised all the money to go back and on what we call our honeymoon for 3 months in Tanzania during the rainy season, the hot rainy season. We built a maternity clinic with the village, and it's now an operating maternity clinic. And that's how the Humanity Project got started. Yeah.
See, that's so fascinating to me because so often when we talk about theater for social change, it's like, let's heal each other. Let's, these things that are not so tangible, right? But you actually use it as a fundraiser so that you can actually tangibly do something in the world. So that's really fascinating. Yeah.
It is, and then as you probably know from your own research, the that became when we went to do that, we felt like we weren't necessarily thinking long term. We felt like that was we went to do that, and we were like, this is great. We accomplished this great thing, but we really felt very connected to the community in almost a, we felt very much part of the family there, and we felt treated that way. We felt like welcomed in that way. We were living in the village while we were building the clinic, and folks started to talk about how amazing this was, and that maybe we should keep this going. And that's when we came up with really the year long model of the Humanity Project, and we kept going back, always listening. Right, for us, it's always important to go and just listen. Say we're here to help. We're not going to suggest what some of the solutions might be, because far be it from us. We don't know. But like listening to the community, what are your needs? What is, now that we have the clinic, what else is it that you need that we can tell the story of, back to folks who aren't here and continue to do this? And as you know, that then grew into a larger hospital that now serves the entire ward, and not just the clinic for women and children. It's now for everyone. It's operating with a staff of 19, 7 doctors and 12 technicians and nurses, 2 staff houses. It also then turned into 4 different wells in 2 different villages. So 4 now clean water sources that didn't exist before. And, women and children were going to the river to fetch water, and the river is infested with crocodiles. So, so a mother would send her child to the river to get water, to bring a bucket of water to bring back. And very often the child wouldn't come back, because they would go down to the river, and the crocodiles were right there. So when we went after the water, after some of the most powerful testimony we've heard about the work that we've done there. I mean, the clinic is amazing. Everything's, for us, is just incredibly, important work. One of the comments that stuck with me when we went to visit a well, and there was a mother filling up a bucket, and we were asking her how the well has impacted daily life. And she said, instead of saying something about it, we have clean drinking water, and we have, water for the washing. She said, I don't have to worry that when I send my son down to the river that he's not going to come back. So it was, and that was just incredibly powerful to hear. And for us as storytellers, it's so, I mean, I say easy is the wrong word, but it is easy for us to just go and listen, and then take those stories as theater artists, turn them into something that we can present to audiences here, so that they can understand and become aware of some of the challenges happening in other communities around the world, and then say to us afterwards, what can I do? How can I help? Right? For us, that's an important component of Theater for Social Change and Arts for Action, is that we want audience members to come up to us afterwards and say, I'm outraged, or this is great. How can I help? What can I do? And for us, it's been just incredibly successful to tell these stories year after year, go back, build the piece, show people immediately, here's what you did. And then people just want to keep helping and want us to keep doing this. And I don't think we could stop now, even if we wanted to, which we of course don't. But everyone every year is like, what's the next project? What are you guys doing? And everyone in Tanzania, our friends and family there, are like, when are you coming back? We have more stuff we need, a school, a scholarship program. So it's incredibly gratifying as theater artists to be able to, like you said, create actual physical change in the world that helps a community through storytelling.
Yeah, we need things in Fresno. You can come out here to California and
I'm on
help
my
us
way.
in Fresno too. Okay,
Absolutely.
So you told me about the Humanity Project. Tell me, so the Empathy Project focuses on the global pandemic and how people are dealing with it, right? Is that right?
It started there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right. It started there. That was the kind of birth of it, right? So as I'm sure you and everyone knows, we all had these grand plans for 2020 in our theater seasons, and we had projects and shows set up, right, where audiences were going to come in person, and then as
my
we know,
partner and I, when it all happened, we were living in Phoenix, and we moved in together on Valentine's Day with like mattress on the top of the car, move into the apartment, and like 2 weeks later, we both were out of work and living together for the first time and had to figure it all out. It was crazy. I mean,
that's exciting.
We were in Arizona, so we weren't shut down quite as long as some places, but yes, it was a very crazy time for sure.
It was a crazy time, and for us, as I'm sure um, every theater organization and other arts organizations in the world at that time thought, around mid-March, when we knew what we were about to face, or we had a sense of it, what are we going to do? We had a whole season, we had shows, we had the Humanity Project, we had our whole, our gala, everything planned for the year, and it just, everything, as you know, everything just came to a halt. So we got together with our board and with our core group of artists that we work with, and we said, what, like, literally, what are we going to do? I don't even know what happens now. And really, after a discussion, the Humanity Project model existed already. And we said to ourselves, what is that model? That model is, we go to a community in need, we listen to what the needs of the community are, we tell a story based on that need, and we share that and bring everyone together to help heal and do something for that larger community, right? So we just applied that to the situation we were in. We said, so the community now is just larger. It's all of us. It's the world, right? The whole planet is faced with this pandemic. Everyone's stuck in their houses. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. Everyone's feeling very disconnected. That was the word that really started to come up a lot, right? That people isolated, disconnected. Even though we were connecting online, we weren't seeing people in person. We couldn't touch anyone. We couldn't hug each other. We were afraid to go near people, right? So we said, wait a minute, we can just take this model and apply it to just a larger community, which now feels like the country or the world. And at the exact same time, we were discussing amongst the board members of the Outer Loop and our core group of artists how we were feeling very much at that time. And again, remember, this is like, I'm like in the period of like 2016, 2017 through 2019, 2020, so the Trump years. And we're all feeling very like that there was an empathy deficit, right? That we were starting to forget as a society what it feels like to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and understand where they're coming from and what their points of view are and what it might feel like to be in someone else's position. And it felt very divisive, and that what we were missing and felt like our tanks were low on was empathy. So we took the Humanity Project model together and this idea that we were low on empathy, and we came up with this idea to put out a call, which we did internationally online, for stories about how people were dealing with the pandemic, right? And we got flooded with hundreds and hundreds of stories, right? And people emailed us, they did videos. And what we did is we curated down to about 10 or 12 stories that we got from 17 different countries. And then we put a call out for artists of all kinds, dancers, musicians, actors, designers, writers, painters, everyone. And we got, a ton of submissions. And then we paired the artists with the stories, right? So a story comes from, let's say, Germany, and a dancer comes from like Miami, Florida. And we put them together. We rehearse virtually for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then we curate this like 90-minute live virtual show that was seen by audiences in about like 18 or 19 different countries. And it was all telling the stories of we were still in it, right? It was April, May of 2020. So we were just in the thick we didn't even know, what was ahead of us. It was still very much the beginning of the pandemic. So it really hit home for a lot of people, and it brought people together. We did talkbacks after each performance, and it really, what we heard is that people were feeling a little more hopeful and connected, right? And that there was this understanding that no matter what side of things you were on, because it was a lot of divisive language at the time, we were all going through the same thing. And that was important for everyone to realize. And that was the beginning of the Empathy Project. And the interesting thing about the Empathy Project is that, again, we weren't sure that was going to become anything beyond that episode, or that volume, I should say. And then I think the weekend of, or the weekend after that we did that performance, George Floyd was murdered. And we immediately got back together and said, this absolutely feels like now another empathy project volume to address. So we again the same model, put out calls for both stories and artists to tell what they were feeling and what everyone's experience watching that happen, and in the aftermath with the reaction to that and how everyone was feeling. And we did another volume of the Empathy Project that centered around the murder of George Floyd and what that exposed or kind of raised everyone's awareness to a new level of systemic racism and police brutality and whatnot. And then again, did the same show, a 90-minute live virtual performance, a couple of performances with talkback. Just really an incredibly powerful experience for all of us. And the response was, again, just huge, and people wanted another one. And so we went into a volume 3, which wound up being part of our annual fundraising gala. And then it actually turned into an Empathy Project educational kit that we put together over the pandemic that we sent out to schools, high schools and colleges now, and we still do it. And we have options where people can kind of create their own empathy project with how we did it. We give some ideas. And we're happy we have different versions where we can come in and work with the students, either virtually or live, and be as involved as the faculty wants us to be, or not at all. Just here's the manual, here's how we did it. Or we can come in and direct and work and design stuff at whatever level the students and the faculty want. So it's great.
That sounds fascinating. I would love to see some of that. And so
Okay.
I'll just kind of sum up our interview with this. As a theater practitioner, how does this kind of work make you feel as an artist, as compared to maybe some other more traditional theater work that you've done in the past?
Wow, what a question! That's such a great question. It's the most rewarding, inspiring, hope-filled work that I can imagine doing, right? Because like we talked about at the beginning, we're not, people used to say to us when we were working in Tanzania initially with the clinic, are you guys doctors? Are you builders? Like, why are you?
How are you qualified to do this, right?
Exactly, right? How are you qualified to do this? And we said, no, we're actually theater artists, and we're storytellers, and we're extremely qualified to do this because we have honed our listening skills, so we know to come in and listen, and then we're very skilled storytellers, and can then devise and construct a story based on a community's needs, and then tell that story to an audience who has no idea about it, who then wants to get involved and help address that need or that injustice, whether it be the Humanity Project work or the Empathy Project work or any of the other theater that we do. And to go back and see, right, to actually physically see what your storytelling and work as a theater artist has done for the world, right? Your own little piece of the world, wherever it is, whether it's here in the U.S. or it's across, the world. To be able to know that as a theater artist, whether you're a designer, a director, a playwright, an actor, a stage manager, that you helped create something that was, your passion and what you do and your art, but that actually impacted the world in a way that saves lives or helps improves people's daily lives and fills needs that they have, just basic life needs. I just don't know. Like I've said from day one, once you witness some community or some group of people in need of something that you can do something about, how could you possibly walk away from that and not do it? You know what I mean? So when we're there and we're wherever we are, if even when it's a project like we're working on now, 13 Suits, if someone comes to us and says, here's something that we think you can help raise awareness for through theater, and we know that we can, how can you say no? Like it's another thing if someone has a need and you feel like, well, maybe we're not the right people to help with that. Maybe you want to try these folks. But when we know right away that we can help, there's no way I don't see how you can walk away from that. And that for us, and I think for anyone who wants to do the work that we do or that you're doing, like, how could you? I mean, there's almost no words for it. It's like the coolest thing in the world, you know?
I'll tell you what, I'm scared that my other faculty members think I'm crazy because I'm spending so much time, on this project. I'm so
Oh, it's
fascinated
amazing.
by it. And the next person I'm interviewing on Monday is a practitioner from Barcelona, Catalonian practitioner who teaches at the University of Lille and sometimes at Cambridge. And she's developed a technique a lot like Boal's technique of theater of the oppressed called theater of yes. And she works through telling stories of trauma to help relate to people, and works with all kinds of different groups. So I'm hoping maybe what I'll end up doing is, once I kind of have this season made, is maybe I'll send an email to all of you, and maybe you all can connect and work together in some way, because you're all doing the same work. I don't know if you got to watch any of the episodes, but it's really remarkable, people who've been willing to come on. And I'm so excited because I think this is the purpose of making art, is to try to change our world in some way.